Hey there guys, welcome back to rccar. So if you've recently bought a re-release Grasshopper, or if you have a vintage one, and you want to get a little bit more performance out of it, this is going to be the video for you. So first off, let's not kid ourselves. This is a Tamiya Grasshopper, right? This is an old vintage RC car, been around for a long time. It's not a basher, it's not a race car. So if you try and modify this car too much, like I've seen people do, you're just going to end up breaking it or spend a lot of money and destroying the transmission. So it isn't a race car, it isn't a basher, so let's just get that out there right off the bat. So I'm going to go over 3 simple and cheap upgrades, which I think will make your Grasshopper faster, it'll make it perform better, and it'll make it more fun to drive, I think. So I'm going to assume in this video that you have an electronic speed controller. Hopefully nobody's running the old mechanical speed controllers. So even back in the day, I quickly switched from one of those to an ESC even in the Grasshopper. So I'm going to assume you don't have one of those and you've already got that upgrade. All right, my first recommendation for these cars, and I'm not going to tear the transmission apart to show you, but it's to replace the bushings that come with the standard kit with ball bearings. By putting ball bearings in these, your car's going to go faster, it's going to run longer, and it's just going to keep a lot of the wear and tear inside of the transmissions down. So to me, it's a no-brainer when you're putting these things together to go ahead and install the ball bearings in there. So with the ball bearings in there, the transmission spins so freely in these cars. It's unreal if you switch over from the bushings to these, how much difference it makes in these cars. I remember when I was a kid and I bought bearings for my Grasshopper and I put them in there, and I was astounded at how easily the wheels moved and how easily the transmission moved. So it makes a huge difference in the way that it runs, the way that it even sounds when you're driving. It has a different sound, and you get a lot more run time out of these. It makes a huge difference. And in these days, bearings are only about $15, so it's kind of silly not to buy those and put them in there when you're building the car. So that would be my #1 recommendation for these cars. If you didn't do anything else to these cars, putting bearings in them would be the most important thing I think you could do for it. All right, so my next recommendation would be to replace your 380 with a 540 type motor, right? I wouldn't go anything crazier than just a standard 540. I wouldn't be putting a modified motor in there. I would stick with one of the 540s that Tamiya makes. You could just put a basic silver can motor in there, which is going to be around 14,000 RPMs. You could go with one of their torque tune motors. I think they're putting in that like in their Plasma Edge kits, even the Midnight Pumpkin kits, I think are coming with the torque tune motors. And they're plenty zippy too. They're just a little bit faster than the standard 540. In this car, I'm running a 540 Sport Tuned, and it runs around 18,000 RPMs, and it really makes this little car fly. I mean, it's all the power that I need in this little car. I couldn't imagine running like a 13-turn or a 16-turn motor in these cars. It would just be too much power for these cars. You're going to wear the transmissions out. And honestly, when you get these cars, it's a solid axle transmission in the back. These dampers on here, they're not even dampers, they're just springs, right? You run these cars that fast on anything that's not smooth, and the car just hops around, and it makes it almost uncontrollable. So really, to me, a 540 motor, they're not that expensive. You can pick them up for anywhere between $13 to $20. Throw those in there. You will need to replace, since the original 380 has a pinion on it, which is too small. When you put a bigger motor in there, you're going to need a bigger pinion gear. I believe it's an 18 tooths is what you have to buy, and they're only $4 or $5. So that would be my recommendation. My second recommendation is to take and get rid of this motor and put a 540, and it's going to make the car a lot more faster and a lot more enjoyable to run. All right, so my last recommendation would be to get different tires in the back. So these are the tires that the Grasshopper comes with. They're like a sand tire. I have no idea why Tamiya put sand tires on a car they call the Grasshopper, because these tires are horrible in grass. As soon as I get this car off of gravel or dirt and get it in the grass, it just about every time gets stuck. So you got to go there and pick it up and throw it back on the gravel. So I would recommend getting rid of those and picking up some Tamiya Hornet tires. They're like $8. You can put them right back on the same rims, and they provide a lot more grip than the old sand tires here. So they're also a lot more bouncy. These are vented, where the Grasshopper tires or the sand tires are not. They're really firm. So these actually provide a little bit of a suspension to them. They kind of keep the car from bouncing around as much. I mean, it's still going to bounce around, but they really help settle the car out quite a bit when you put these on there. And they just grip a whole lot better, especially if you're driving in grass. I mean, they really grip the grass a lot better than these tires here do. So that would be my third recommendation. I mean, you can spend a lot more money on these cars. You can buy suspension for the front. You can buy suspension for the back. But it's still a Grasshopper. You know, it's still not going to be a high performance vehicle, RC car. So the best thing I would do for your suspension is really buy these tires, and you're going to be a lot happier with these tires than you are these tires. Now, I love the look of these tires on the car. They look better. Maybe because I'm just so used to seeing the Grasshopper with those tires. But these tires, the Hornet tires, perform much better than the original tires that come with them. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up the video here. So hopefully this helps some of you guys out that maybe just bought a Grasshopper and you're wondering what upgrades you should put on it. You know, my opinion is don't complicate these cars. They're just simple RC cars. So there's no reason to get crazy with them. This is all I plan on doing with mine. I've got the 540 in there. I put bearings in there, and I got Hornet tires on there. And that, to me, that's good enough. You know, it's fun to throw a battery in this, take it out on the track, and just run it around. And, you know, it's a blast. So anyway, if you liked this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and I appreciate you guys watching.